Hi guys, in this video we will learn how to create beautiful gradient backgrounds like this in After Effects. Once you learn this technique, you can use the same for creating several other backgrounds like this. Let's get started. We'll start by creating a 4K composition. Click over here. From the drop down, choose 4K 25 fps. You can keep the duration as 10 seconds and press on OK. Firstly, we need to create a lens map. For that, from over here, choose the ellipse tool. Coming over here, let's get the ellipse like this. Let's go back to selection tool by pressing V. Let's put the ellipse over here on the top. We don't need any stroke, so I'm just going to make the stroke as 0. The fill can remain as white. Now let's start adding the effects. Firstly, we are going to add turbulent displace on top of it. Let's just search for turbulent displace. In a displacement, you can choose anything that you want. For now, I'm going with bulk smoother. Let's increase the amount. We can keep it around 140-150. Also, let's increase the size and keep it around 140. We want this to move smoothly. For that, we'll need to play around with the evaluation. As I move this, you can see that the shape is also changing. So let's make this 0 from over here. Firstly, open the layer, open the effects. In turbulent displace, we'll need to add an expression in evolution. So pressing on the option key, click on the stopwatch next to evolution. Over here, we are going to write time into 40. That way, if you play this, we are getting a smooth motion in our blob. Now, in order to give it a floating effect, we just need to add a wiggle expression in position and scale. Let's scroll down, open the transform properties. Again, press Alt or Option and click on position. Over here, we are just going to write wiggle 0.5 by 30. I'm just going to copy this as well. Click outside. Now, coming to scale, again press on Option and click on it, and again paste it. This way, you'll get a motion like this. Perfect. Finally, we need to blur this. For that, coming up, ensure that the layer is selected and search for fast box blur. Let's increase the radius. We'll keep it around 50. And the iterations can be 3 or 4. Perfect. This way, you'll get a floating blob like this. Let's call this layer as a lens map. For now, let's hide this. And now let's create a circle in the middle, which will be our donut layer. Again, clicking on the shape layer. Ensure that the layer is not selected. Pressing on Shift, create a circle like this. Right now, we don't need any fill, so we can make this as none. And from over here, let's increase the fill. Perfect. Let's go to ellipse. In case the circle is quite big, we will open this ellipse path and decrease the size from over here. Perfect. Go to selection tool, keep the circle exactly in the middle. You can also go over here in align it exactly in the middle of your composition. Select a stroke and keep it as white. Let's call this layer as donut. Right now, this layer is pretty static. I want to rotate it. For that, we need to add an expression in the rotation property. Open the transform from over here. In the rotation, click on the stopwatch, pressing on the option key. Let's write time into 20 or 25. This way, you can see that the circle is moving. You can understand this by looking at the path. Now let's add two effects on top of this. Firstly, we are going to add the compound blur. So let's search for it. Compound blur. Let's increase the maximum blur. We're going to keep it around 200. From the blur layer, let's select this and we have to link it to a lens map. This way, you can see the lens map is now on top of our donut. From over here, it is currently linked to the source. Let's link it to the effects and the mask. Finally, let's invert it. Perfect. With this, we are able to see an animation like this. If you feel that the blur is too much, you can simply close this, go over here. Let's open this. Coming to contents, open the ellipse. Again, opening the ellipse path, we can increase the size like this. Let's again hide this. Now clicking back on the donut, let's go back to our compound blur and duplicate it one more time. This time I'm going to keep this maximum blur as 50. Now let's create the gradient. For that, we need a solid layer. Click on the solid. You can keep it any color that you want. Just call it as a gradient map and click on OK. Now search for 4 color gradient. If you just press on 4, this is the first effect that will pop up. Over here, let's choose a dark palette. Now you have two options. Either you can add keyframes over here for these points and rotate them. Like for example, this point can go over here, this point can come over here, or pressing Ctrl Z, or you can rotate this entire canvas. For now, I'm just going to rotate this entire canvas by adding a keyframe again in rotation. So opening this up, let's again open the transform properties. In rotation, let's add an expression. It is just going to be time into 25. See, this way it will keep on rotating like this. Now finally, we need to create a track mat so that this gradient is on top of our donut. For that, open up our track mat from over here. Take the pick of the gradient map and just link it to a donut. Perfect. In case you feel that this is cutting on the edges, you can simply click on the gradient map, press on S, and you can increase the size. I'm just going to change the colors a bit. Perfect. You can change the colors to look something like this. With this, we have got a beautiful circle. You can use this already as your background, but we are not going to stop over here. Let's take it to the next level. Now let's take a copy of this layer by pressing on Command D. Let's drag this down and unhide it. We don't really need these effects anymore, so we can just come over here and delete them. Now we need to create a mask on the right side. For that, ensure that the layer is selected. From our top panel, select our pen tool. Also, click on this button. This tells us tool create mask. Now coming over here, let's create a mask like this. Just ensure that while creating the mask, your playhead is at the start. If you're unhappy with the mask, you can select any of the points and just drag it on the right or on the left. For now, this is good enough. So now let's start adding effects on top of the layer. Firstly, we are going to add turbulent displace. From over here, I'm going to keep the displacement as turbulent. Let's increase our amount all the way to 350 to 400. I'm keeping it something like this. Also, you can increase the size to around 100 to 150. For now, I'm keeping it around 120. Also, we want this to be moving. So similar to how we had done it earlier, let's open the effects, open turbulent displace, and we are going to add an expression in evolution. So pressing on option, click on evolution. Over here, we are going to write time into 25. That way, this will keep on moving. Next, if you see this, right now, this one is rotating. The reason being, over here in the donut, we had added an expression in rotation. So we can quickly go over here in transform, just open this, double click over here and just delete it. This way, it will not keep on moving and will be restricted on this side. Perfect. Now going back over here, we are going to add a next effect, which is going to be our fastbox blur. Let's select our layer, search for fastbox blur. Increase the radius to around 30 to 40 and keep the iterations as 3. Everything else can remain the same. Next, we have to add the smear effect. Let's search for the same CC smear. Firstly, click on this icon next to from and we can keep it somewhere over here. Next, click on a 2 and we can keep it on this side. Let's increase the radius to around 600 to 700. I'll keep it something like this. The reason we are doing this is so that we can see the middle of the donut properly. Else earlier, this distortion was overlapping on this circle. Perfect. Now next, we have to add the bulge. Again, selecting the layer, let's search for bulge. Clicking on the layer, you can increase the horizontal radius all the way to around 1000. Also, you can increase the vertical radius like this. If you feel this is too big, you can reduce it a bit. On location, we are going to keep it over here. Let's increase the bulge height to something like 2.5 or 2.6. So we'll get a circle similar to this. Next, we have to add the radial blur. Let's again search for radial blur. You have to keep it all the way over here. That way, you will get a proper blur over here on the right side. You can play around with this. Perfect. Finally, let's again add turbulent displace on top of this. Keep the displacement to around 100. Perfect. Now let's click on our gradient map and let's take a copy of this. We can call it gradient map 2. Let's place it on top of our donut. Finally, all we need to do is keep this track mat on top of our donut 2. So taking this pick, just place it on top of our donut 2. Perfect. This way you can see we have got a beautiful gradient like this. But we are not yet done. Let's make some few final changes. Let's select all the layers, right click over here and click on pre-compose. We're just going to call it as the gradient and click on OK. Now let's create a nice background to it. Click on new and click on solid. Let's drag it to the bottom. On top of this, we are going to add the 4 color gradient. This time we are going to keep it super simple. One of the color is going to be over here, another is going to be over here, and these colors are going to be nothing but complete black. We have got one black. Let's keep this another one as black as well. The yellow one can be pink. Let's keep this outside like this. And this one can be blue. It's fine. Again, keep it all the way over here. Now all we need to do is just add keyframes for this point and the other point. So going to the start, I'm going to add a keyframe over here for point 1, going to 5 seconds, take it over here. And for our 4th point, again go to the start, add a keyframe in point 4, go to 5 seconds. This time you can move the blue all the way to the right. I'm just going to keep it little up so that it's not too much pink. Over here as well, I'm just going to keep it up. Perfect. Now let's quickly add a turbulent displace on top of it. You can keep it again anything that you want. For now, I'm just going to keep it as twist. You can decrease the size and keep it at 50. Perfect. This way, if I play it, we get a beautiful gradient like this. Now, whatever text that you want to add on top of this, you can add on your own. If you love this tutorial, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next time.